Birth of the Dragon, San Francisco, November 27, 1940. Amidst the chaos of World War II and the vibrant lights of Chinatown, Li Junfan is born on Jackson Street in the Chinese Year of the Dragon during the Hour of the Dragon. His father, Li Hoi Chuen, is a renowned Cantonese opera actor touring the United States when the baby arrives, crying with a force that impresses the nurses at Chinese hospital. His mother, Grace Ho, of Chinese-German descent, holds the newborn and whispers his American name, Bruce, suggested by a hospital nurse. But the family soon returns to Hong Kong, taking little Bruce back to Asia, where he will grow up under British colonial rule amid post-war poverty and the chaotic streets of Kowloon, Hong Kong, 1946. A 6-year-old boy runs barefoot through narrow alleys, dodging street vendors and carts. Bruce is a scrawny but restless child, with piercing eyes that seem to challenge the world around him. The family lives on Nathan Road, in a modest apartment, but his father is frequently absent, acting in films and theatre productions. Grace Ho raises the children with a firm hand, trying to maintain order amid the urban chaos of a Hong Kong dominated by gangs and poverty. Bruce is a problematic child. He fights with other children, defies teachers, and his energy seems inexhaustible. At 7 years old, he appears in his first film, The Birth of Mankind, carried in his father's arms in a small scene. Cinema is in the Lee family's blood, and young Bruce is quickly absorbed into this world of lights, cameras, and acting. At 9 years old, he stars in his first major role in The Kid, playing a smart and defiant street kid. You are watching iconic figures. Stay with us until the end to discover how this story shaped history. But life on the streets of Hong Kong is not a movie. It's real, violent, and unforgiving. Bruce frequently gets involved in gang fights, part of a youth culture that dominates the city's poorest neighborhoods. He belongs to a gang called Tigers of Junction Street, and battles with rival groups are constant. His mother is desperate. She sees her brilliant son, full of potential, wasting his life in street confrontations. In 1953, at 13 years old, Bruce makes a decision that will change his life forever. He asks his parents to learn Wing Chun, a Chinese martial art. He is taken to Master Yip Man, a discreet, middle-aged man who teaches in a modest studio in Kowloon. Yip Man observes the skinny, nervous boy, full of contained energy, and agrees to teach him. The training is rigorous. There are no flourishes, no exaggerated movements. Wing Chun is about efficiency, economy of motion, speed. Bruce absorbs each lesson like a sponge. He trains obsessively, practicing the same movements hundreds, thousands of times. He installs a wooden dummy in his home and practices until his hands bleed. But his questioning nature soon conflicts with tradition. Bruce doesn't blindly accept dogmas. He begins to question certain techniques, to experiment, to modify movements according to his own understanding. Yip Man observes with interest. This boy is different. He doesn't just learn, he evolves. But street life still haunts him. In 1958, at 18 years old, Bruce gets involved in a violent fight with the son of a powerful family. The British colonial police have their eye on him. His mother is terrified of the possibility of her son ending up imprisoned or dead. Grace Ho makes a drastic decision. She sends Bruce back to the United States, away from gangs, fights, and danger. In April 1959, Bruce boards a ship with $100 in his pocket and a completely uncertain future. The 3-week journey to San Francisco is long and lonely. Bruce spends his days training on deck, practicing his movements, imagining what awaits him. When the ship docks, he is received by family friends, but soon departs for Seattle, where an old friend of his father lives. Seattle, 1959. Bruce is alone in a strange city, without money, without concrete plans. He gets a job as a waiter in a Chinese restaurant, washing dishes and serving tables. At night he studies, trying to complete his education. During the day, he works. In his spare time, he trains. He enrolls at Edison Technical School and later at the University of Washington, studying philosophy. It's at the university that Bruce begins to give informal kung fu classes to curious students. He teaches in parks, in parking lots, anywhere he can gather a few students. His approach is revolutionary. He doesn't follow traditional rituals, doesn't demand exaggerated bows. He teaches in a practical, direct, efficient manner. In 1961, he meets Linda Emery, a young blonde student with blue eyes, fascinated by his energy and philosophy. Linda begins attending his classes, and soon a deep connection forms between them. Bruce is changing. He's no longer the street kid from Hong Kong. He's becoming a thinker, a martial artist, a visionary, but the traditional Chinese community doesn't look favorably upon what he's doing. Teaching kung fu to non-Chinese is considered a betrayal, a breaking of sacred codes. In 1963, Bruce opens his first official kung fu school in Seattle, calling it Junfan Kung Fu Institute. He teaches students of all ethnicities, breaking racial barriers in an era of deep segregation. But criticism increases. Threatening letters arrive. Traditional masters accuse him of prostituting Chinese martial art. Bruce ignores them. He's convinced that martial arts should be universal, not the exclusive property of one race or culture. In August 1964, Bruce and Linda marry in a simple ceremony, defying the social conventions of the time. A few months later, Brandon Lee is born, the couple's first child. Life is changing rapidly. Bruce is now a husband, father, teacher, and still searching for his own path. He begins to formulate his own ideas about combat, questioning the limitations of traditional styles. His personal notes are filled with diagrams, philosophical reflections, biomechanical analyses. He studies Western boxing, fencing, wrestling, absorbing techniques from different disciplines. The seed of what would later become Jeet Kune Do is being planted, although Bruce hasn't yet named his philosophy. Oakland, California, 1964. Bruce is invited to demonstrate his skills at the International Karate Championship. He enters the stage confidently, his body lean but defined, his movements explosive. In the audience is a man who will change his life. Jay Sebring, hairdresser to Hollywood stars. Jay is impressed. He takes Bruce to meet influential people, opening doors to the entertainment world. But before anything can materialize, Bruce faces his greatest challenge yet. Chinese kung fu masters in San Francisco issue an ultimatum. Either Bruce stops teaching non-Chinese, or he will face consequences. Bruce refuses. He won't back down. If they want to silence him, they'll have to do it by force. The formal challenge is issued. A confrontation will be held in Oakland, supervised by witnesses from the Chinese community. Bruce accepts. He will fight, and he will prove that his vision of martial arts is not heresy, but evolution. The Dragon Awakens, Oakland, California, 1964. The training room is tense, full of silent spectators. On the other side stands Yip Man, a traditional kung fu master sent to humiliate Bruce Lee and force him to stop teaching Westerners. The rules are simple. If Bruce loses, he closes his school and never teaches non-Chinese again. The fight begins. Bruce advances with his characteristic speed, but Yip Man retreats, avoiding direct confrontation. The fight becomes a frustrating chase. Bruce is accustomed to practical sparring, not this evasive dance. After 3 minutes of intense combat, Bruce finally corners Yip Man and forces him to submit. Technically, Bruce won, but he is deeply dissatisfied. The fight took too long. He got tired. His strikes weren't as efficient as they should have been. That night, alone, Bruce reflects on his limitations. Wing Chun is not enough. He realizes that no single style can cover all distances, all real combat situations. This frustration becomes the catalyst for a revolution. Bruce begins to deconstruct everything he learned. He abandons traditional movements that don't work under real pressure. He incorporates boxing, fencing, wrestling techniques. Thus is born the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist, a martial art without form, adaptable, personal. Absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, add what is specifically your own, he writes in his notebooks. The Lee family moves to Los Angeles, where Bruce opens a new school in Chinatown. But his real goal now is Hollywood. He wants to bring Chinese martial arts to American cinema. Through his connections, Bruce gets an audition for a new TV series, The Green Hornet. He will play Kato, the masked hero's assistant and driver. When Bruce enters the audition room, executives are immediately impressed by his presence and skills. He demonstrates his movements with supernatural speed. The cameras can barely capture the quickness of his strikes. Bruce gets the role. The Green Hornet premieres in September 1966, broadcast nationally on ABC. But there's a problem. Despite Kato stealing every scene, the show has moderate ratings and is cancelled after one season. Bruce is frustrated. He stole the show. American children loved him, but Hollywood didn't see him as a leading man. For executives, he's too Chinese to be an American hero. His acting is limited to supporting roles and exotic villains. But Bruce doesn't give up. He develops a concept for a series called The Warrior, about a Chinese martial artist in the Old West. He presents the idea to Warner Brothers and Paramount. Executives are interested but hesitant. While waiting for an answer, Bruce continues working. He choreographs fights, gives private lessons to celebrities. Among his students are Steve McQueen, James Coburn, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Roman Polanski. He trains Steve McQueen at his home in Bel Air, developing a genuine friendship with Hollywood's biggest star of the time. James Coburn becomes a devoted follower, training religiously with Bruce for years. In 1969, Shannon Lee is born, Bruce and Linda's second child. Bruce is now almost 30 years old, with 2 children, and his Hollywood career is stagnant. He appears in episodes of series like Ironside, Here Come the Brides, but always in small, stereotyped roles. The most painful blow comes in 1971. Warner Brothers decides to make Kung Fu, a series based on the concept Bruce presented. But they choose David Carradine, a white actor, to play the Chinese protagonist. Bruce is furious and devastated. His idea was stolen, and he was deemed unsuitable for his own concept. Hollywood's systemic racism is evident. No matter how talented he is, his ethnicity is seen as an obstacle. But luck is about to change. A Hong Kong producer, Raymond Chow, sees potential in Bruce. Raymond has just founded Golden Harvest, a new production company challenging the Shaw Brothers monopoly. He offers Bruce the lead role in a low-budget film, The Big Boss. Bruce hesitates. Returning to Hong Kong seems like a step backward, but there are no other options in Hollywood. In 1971, Bruce flies to Thailand, where The Big Boss will be filmed. The set is chaotic, the budget is tight, the conditions are precarious, but Bruce is determined. He's not just the lead actor. He choreographs all the fight scenes, revolutionizing martial arts cinema. Instead of theatrical movements from Beijing opera, Bruce brings realism, speed, visceral impact. Each punch feels real. Each kick has weight and intention. The camera captures the raw violence. The Big Boss premieres in Hong Kong in October 1971 and becomes an instant phenomenon. The film breaks all box office records in Hong Kong cinema history. Bruce Lee is no longer just an actor. He's a superstar, an icon, a symbol of Chinese pride. Raymond Chow immediately begins producing the next film, Fist of Fury. Filmed in Hong Kong with a slightly larger budget, the film has a clear political message. Bruce plays Chen Zhen, who confronts Japanese oppressors, breaking a sign that reads, "Chinese and dogs not allowed." The scene resonates deeply with Asian audiences. tired of decades of colonial and imperial humiliation. Fist of Fury is released in March 1972 and surpasses the success of The Big Boss. Bruce Lee is now the highest-paid actor in Asia, surpassing even the established stars of Shaw Brothers. But he's not satisfied with just acting. He wants total creative control. For his third film, Way of the Dragon, Bruce takes on roles as director, screenwriter, and choreographer. Filmed in Rome with still limited budget, the film showcases Bruce's complete vision. The final scene, fighting Chuck Norris in the Roman Colosseum, becomes iconic. It's a masterpiece of choreography, dramatic tension, and cinematography, two contrasting martial arts styles in epic combat. Way of the Dragon breaks new records when released in 1972. Hollywood finally pays attention. Warner Brothers offers a co-production, Enter the Dragon. This will be the first major-budget Sino-American film shot in Hong Kong with global distribution. Bruce is ecstatic. This is the film that will take Chinese martial arts to the global mainstream. The set of Enter the Dragon is professional. With adequate budget, special effects, and international actors, Bruce works tirelessly, perfecting every scene, every movement, every expression. He demands multiple takes, frustrating director Robert Klaus, but insisting on perfection. The philosophy behind the film is profound. It's not just action, but an exploration of self-discovery. It's like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you'll miss all that heavenly glory, Bruce says in a memorable scene. Filming is completed in May 1973. Bruce is exhausted but triumphant. He's already planning his next project, Game of Death, his most ambitious film. The concept is revolutionary. A fighter climbing a pagoda, facing different martial arts styles on each level. Each opponent represents a different philosophy, a different approach to combat. Bruce films the iconic final sequence, him in his yellow jumpsuit facing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The shots are impressive. The size difference creates a dramatic visual contrast. But Game of Death needs to be paused. Enter the Dragon is about to be released, and there's promotion to do. May 1973. Bruce is at the peak of his career, his fame, his creative power. He's 32 years old. He's in perfect physical condition. The entire world is about to know him. Enter the Dragon will be released in August. Bruce knows this film will change everything. He will finally be recognized in Hollywood, not as a supporting actor, but as a global superstar. But something is wrong. Bruce has been suffering from intense headaches and episodes of dizziness. In May, during a dubbing session in Hong Kong, he collapses in the studio, being rushed to the hospital. Shadows of the Dragon Baptist Hospital, Hong Kong, May 1973. Bruce Lee wakes up in a hospital bed, confused and disoriented. The doctors are worried. He suffered a sudden collapse, lost consciousness, had seizures. Tests are performed, tomographies, neurological exams, blood analyses. The results show cerebral edema, swelling of the brain, a potentially fatal condition. Doctors prescribe Dilantin, an anticonvulsant, and advise absolute rest. Bruce is terrified. For the first time in his life, his body has betrayed him. He always trusted his perfect physical condition, his discipline, his total control. Linda is by his side, trying to calm him, but she's also frightened. Doctors can't determine the exact cause of the cerebral edema. It could be stress, it could be some underlying condition. Bruce spends a week in the hospital before being discharged with strict instructions: reduce stress, avoid overwork, take medication regularly. But Bruce Lee was never good at following medical advice. He has commitments, contracts, films ahead. The world is waiting for him. July 1973. Bruce is back to work, planning Game of Death and preparing for the worldwide premiere of Enter the Dragon. But those close to him notice changes. He's more irritable, more impatient, more obsessed with work. His headaches return periodically. He ignores them, taking painkillers and continuing. The pressure is immense. He's negotiating with American studios, managing his production company, training, acting. He barely sleeps. His training regimen continues brutal despite medical warnings. Bruce has developed an obsession with extreme physical conditioning. He trains abdominal muscles incessantly. He experiments with electrical muscle stimulation, a new and untested technology, applying electric shocks to force contractions. His diet is extreme. He consumes supplements, protein extracts, mixtures of his own creation. There are rumors that he also uses hashish to relax and stimulate creativity, something he denies publicly. But behind the superstar facade, Bruce is fighting personal demons. He carries the trauma of being rejected by Hollywood, of having his idea stolen, of being considered not American enough. There are also tensions in his marriage. Bruce is intensely dedicated to work, frequently absent from home. Linda knows he's under immense pressure, but worries about his health and well-being. Rumors circulate in Hong Kong about extramarital relationships, something the tabloid media exploits voraciously. The name Betty Ting Pei appears in tabloids, an actress with whom Bruce supposedly maintains a relationship. Bruce publicly denies any affair, but gossip continues, adding emotional stress to physical stress. July 18th, 1973. It's a hot and humid day in Hong Kong, typical of tropical summer. Bruce is working on the Game of Death script with Raymond Chow in his office. In the afternoon, they have a scheduled meeting with George Lazenby, the former James Bond, to discuss a role in the film. Before the meeting, Bruce and Raymond go to Betty Ting Pei's apartment in Kowloon Tong. The plan is to review the script and then go together to the meeting with Lazenby. In the apartment around 2 p.m., Bruce complains of a severe headache. Betty offers him Equagesic, a painkiller containing aspirin and meprobamate, a muscle relaxant. Bruce takes the pill and decides to rest in the bedroom while Raymond goes ahead to prepare the meeting. Raymond leaves, leaving Bruce resting in Betty's apartment. At 7:30 p.m., Raymond calls to check why Bruce hasn't shown up for the meeting. Betty goes to the bedroom and tries to wake him. He doesn't respond. She shakes him. He's unconscious, breathing irregularly. Terrified, Betty calls Raymond, who immediately returns to the apartment. They call Betty's personal doctor, who arrives quickly and tries to revive Bruce. The doctor can't wake him. He orders an ambulance immediately. Bruce is rushed to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Hong Kong's large public hospital. Doctors work desperately to revive him, but there's no response. At 11 p.m. on the night of July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee is officially declared dead. He was only 32 years old, at the peak of his career, at the moment of his greatest achievement. The news spreads like an electric shock through Hong Kong and then around the world. Linda is devastated. She immediately flies to Hong Kong with the children. The media goes into a frenzy. How can someone so young, so healthy, simply die? Police initiate an investigation. The circumstances are suspicious. He died in the actress's apartment away from his family. An autopsy is performed. The medical examiner, Dr. R.D. Thierry, a world-renowned specialist, examines the body. The report shows massive cerebral edema. Bruce's brain had significantly increased in size, but the cause of the edema remains a mystery. There are no signs of physical trauma, obvious poisoning, or terminal illness. The official inquiry concludes that death was caused by hypersensitivity to Equagesic, a rare allergic reaction to the painkiller. But this explanation doesn't satisfy many. Conspiracy theories explode. Some believe Bruce was assassinated by Chinese kung fu masters, taking revenge for him teaching Westerners. Others speculate about triad involvement, Hong Kong gangsters who supposedly demanded protection payments. There are theories that he was a victim of an ancient family curse, since his son Brandon will also die young in tragic circumstances. Some point to his use of electrical muscle stimulation, experimental supplements, or possible drug use. The truth is probably more mundane, but no less tragic. A young man pushed his body beyond limits. Bruce slept 4 hours a night, trained obsessively, worked without stopping. He ignored medical warnings after his first collapse in May. He took a cocktail of substances, legal and possibly illegal, to maintain his performance. His body simply couldn't sustain the pace his mind demanded anymore. The funeral in Hong Kong is a massive event. More than 20,000 people attend, many crying openly. Celebrities, students, fans, all crowd to say a final goodbye to the icon. His coffin is carried by Steve McQueen, James Coburn, and other close Hollywood friends. After the ceremony in Hong Kong, his body is transported to Seattle, where he will be buried. July 31st, 1973. Bruce Lee is buried at Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle, near the University of Washington, where he studied. Linda, Brandon, and Shannon stand beside the grave, surrounded by friends and family. The world has lost an artist, a philosopher, a revolutionary who was just beginning to show his true potential. Enter the Dragon is released 6 days after his death, on August 17, 1973. The film becomes a phenomenal success, grossing over $200 million worldwide. Bruce Lee finally conquers Hollywood, but he's not there to witness his triumph. His films are re-released worldwide, each breaking box office records. Bruce Lee becomes more famous in death than he ever was in life. But the tragedy of the Lee family hasn't ended. The Immortal Legacy, Seattle, 1993. 20 years after Bruce Lee's death, his son Brandon stands at the height of his career. Growing up in his father's shadow, Brandon forged his own path, becoming a respected actor and martial artist. He's filming The Crow, a dark story of revenge and redemption, his breakthrough role, March 31st, 1993. On set in Wilmington, North Carolina. A scene involves Brandon being shot. The gun should contain only blanks, but due to negligence, a real bullet fragment remains in the barrel. When actor Michael Massey fires, the blank's charge propels the fragment like a real bullet. Brandon collapses. At first, the crew thinks it's part of the performance, but he doesn't get up. Real blood spreads. Panic erupts. He's rushed to the hospital, but after 6 hours of surgery, he's pronounced dead. April 1st, 1993. Brandon Lee, dead at 28. The Lee family curse seems real. Father and son, both gone too soon. Linda buries her son beside Bruce at Lakeview Cemetery. Shannon Lee, now the only surviving child, carries the legacy alone. But she refuses to let tragedy define the family. She establishes the Bruce Lee Foundation, promoting her father's philosophy of self-expression and personal growth. It's not just about martial arts, it's about living truthfully and fearlessly. Be water, my friend. Bruce's timeless phrase becomes a global mantra. In 1998, Shannon expands the foundation's educational reach. She battles to protect her father's name from commercial misuse. She also acts and trains, honoring tradition while forging her own path. Hong Kong, 2005. A bronze statue of Bruce Lee is unveiled on the Avenue of Stars. 8 feet tall, it captures him mid-fight, muscles tense, eyes focused. Fans from around the world visit daily, touching the fists for luck. The statue sparks debate. Was Bruce Hong Kong's son or America's? When it's temporarily removed in 2013, protests demand its return. Bruce Lee's impact transcends martial arts and cinema. New generations watch his films, study his moves, and quote his words. The yellow jumpsuit from Game of Death becomes a pop culture icon, revived in Kill Bill and countless tributes. Quentin Tarantino, a lifelong admirer, calls Bruce a cinematic philosopher. Jeet Kune Do spreads across the globe, taught in academies on every continent. But Bruce's philosophy goes beyond fighting. It's a way of life. Tao of Jeet Kune Do, published posthumously, reveals his mind, disciplined, curious, and deeply reflective. He studied Krishnamurti, Lao Tzu, psychology, and science. His library held over 2,000 books. He kept journals filled with training data, sketches, and biomechanical notes. He analyzed speed, force, and angles. Decades before sports science became common, he lifted weights, ran, and integrated every discipline into his practice. His influence echoes in modern MMA, UFC 1993. Fighters from different styles face off, testing what truly works. The results prove Bruce's vision. No single style dominates. Adaptability wins. Flow wins. Dana White calls Bruce Lee the father of MMA. Fighters like Anderson Silva and Conor McGregor cite him as inspiration. They study his movement, timing, and philosophy of efficiency. Bruce's idea, to absorb what is useful, shapes combat sports forever. But his legacy also challenges culture and identity. In 1960s Hollywood, Asian actors were caricatures, villains or servants. Bruce refused those roles. He demanded dignity and strength. When rejected, he went to Hong Kong, took control, and made history. Enter the Dragon forced Hollywood to see him and Asians differently. He opened doors for Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, and others. Yet even today, his story highlights how far representation still has to go. The Asian Americans in film movement calls him both a pioneer and a symbol of struggle. He proved it was possible to be a global superstar without surrendering identity. During the pandemic, the world rediscovers Bruce Lee. ESPN's Be Water documentary explores his philosophy and Asian American identity. Clips of Bruce speaking go viral, reaching millions online. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. His words resonate in uncertain times. Entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes quote him as a guide to resilience. Jeet Kune Do becomes a metaphor for life itself. Adapt, evolve, flow. His teachings inspire those facing barriers, reminding them to create their own path. When the world said no, Bruce said, "Watch me." His home in Kowloon Tong becomes a pilgrimage site. In Seattle, fresh flowers are left daily at his grave. Linda Lee Cadwell, now elderly, still protects his memory. She wrote books revealing Bruce's humanity, his flaws, obsessions, and relentless pursuit of truth. That pursuit defines his legacy. He tested everything. He believed truth must be proven through experience, not tradition. On the 50th anniversary of his death, global tributes celebrate his genius. Films, exhibitions, and seminars revisit his impact. But scholars also debate his contradictions: icon or product, liberator or stereotype. Regardless, his influence remains undeniable. He revolutionized martial arts, cinema, and self-expression. He showed that wisdom and strength could coexist. He proved that identity could be fluid, like water itself. Bruce lived only 32 years, but those years burned like a supernova. He was actor, director, philosopher, innovator, a bridge between East and West. His early death froze him in time, eternally young and invincible. Don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. His words transcend fighting. They define discipline, passion, and mastery. Bruce Lee became more than a man. He became a symbol, a reminder that we define ourselves not by birth, race, or limits, but by will. That tradition must serve truth, not restrain it. That freedom comes from flow. The boy from Hong Kong became the dragon of the world. His body may have fallen, but his spirit still moves, fluid, eternal, unstoppable. As long as humanity seeks authenticity and courage, Bruce Lee will live on. The dragon is immortal. This was another episode of Iconic Figures. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful documentaries about the minds and leaders who changed the world.